option of doing the pledge in Estonian. But I know about 400 Estonian words now, but I have learned there are just some sounds and some positions that a Western North Carolina adult tongue just cannot make. So I spared you by not doing that. And Bill McBrayer, I need to clear something up. Honorary consuls do not have diplomatic immunity. So don't ask for any special favors. Okay? Ambassador, this is truly a huge honor for me. And I pledge to give you my best efforts to be of service to the Estonians living in North Carolina. And we'll work really hard to build bridges between our two nations. With the distinguished group we have here today, I would say we're off to a really good start on that. I know at a lot of these events we recognize the elected officials, and for a very good reason. They make policy, and those policies have really enabled us to have an incredibly prosperous, great place to live. Excuse me, but those policies are carried out by administrators. Our local governments here are very blessed with highly professional administrators who do a great job running the day-to-day services of government. I was going to attempt to go around the room and name you, there's no way. But if you work for local government, or if you are on an appointed board, would you please stand or hold up your hand for just a moment so we can give you a round of applause. Anthony, Amanda, thank you all for this. Yes, we have members of the Greater Hickory International Council here. I saw Annie and Tracy. If you are here from the International Council, please hold up your hand. We thank you for all you do. If you haven't been to any of their events, I got to go to their Christmas event this year at the Salt Block, and it was just incredible. Look up their website. They have a list of their various events. I urge you to go to them. They have some educational events coming up starting next week, I believe. Some good discussions. I urge you to look into those. You know, Estonia, as many of you have heard me say ad nauseum, is the world's leader in e-government services. The reason I chose to have my office here at APP, and I'm thankful that the folks at APP have worked with me, is Appalachian State has one of the premier Masters of Public Administration programs in North America as far as I'm concerned. I see some great fits between Estonia's core competency in e-government and Appalachian's core competency in the MPA program. So I look forward to working very hard on that. The other honorary consuls in the room, incredibly honored to have you here today. Your presence really does mean the world to me. To my family, all of my family who are here, thank you so much for all of your support and encouragement. And to my dear wife, Mary, I know there she is. Thank you for embracing this journey. Not just going along on it, but embracing it. And truly for all you have done, and my girls and their husbands, all you guys did today to make this event successful. Thank you all so much. Many of you have met my mom. Some of you have known her for decades, others not so long. Luckadoo, she's right here. If you haven't met her, you should. She was born in Tartu, Estonia. She lived in a free country until about the age of 8, when Stalin's Soviet army invaded and put the country under the heavy thumb of communism. Hitler's army followed 2 years later, and then Stalin's army again in 1944. And in 1944, when the battles were raging, my mom and her family, along with tens of thousands of others, joined in a frantic escape, and many did not make it. Many died during the attempt. But if I know one thing about Estonians, is how much they cherish freedom. And those families that fled were determined to do whatever it took to live in freedom. There are 4 people in this room who actually experienced those horrors. My mom, Jaak Treman, Adu, and Christy Alpera. Christy is a member of the Estonian American National Council, which has launched an effort to call greater recognition to what happened in the late summer and early fall of 1944. As much as you've heard me talk about the amazing things that are happening in Estonia, it's also important to know its history to fully appreciate it. Christy, would you mind coming up and saying a few words about the National Council's efforts?
Tere. It's nice to be here. Thank you. This is an amazing audience. Tommy, all the best. And you are going to be great. Now, I'm going to tell you the rest of the story. We've heard a lot of facts. We've heard a lot of interesting things, some of it horrible, some of it good. But I want to say that 80 years ago, 80 years ago this year, was an amazing and horrible thing. We are here because of that event 80 years ago. It is easy when we live in a wonderful country, as we do, to put it away, not think about it. It is easy also in Estonia, once you are also of the younger generations, to kind of say, that's old stuff. Well, if it weren't for that event, which was the mass escape, the suur põgenemine, we call it the big escape, the mass escape from Estonia, from those Soviet forces, which were going to be coming in and staying for 50 years. So, I'm one of them. My husband is one of them. Jaak is one of them. We were children. We were babies. And if you can imagine a mother with a 1.5-year-old having to crawl into a small boat. Ours was 9 meters long, with 24 other people, with a bag in hand, a child, and head over. Some went in large ships. That was all. It was large ships, small ships, boats down to 5 meters. Most of them were 5 to 9 meters long. They were sailing vessels, they were transport things, all of it. So this lady probably remembers that very well. I know my parents and my grandparents didn't dwell on it, didn't want to talk about it, because it was a horrible time in their lives. They had to leave their mothers. Some, the older people didn't want to come, said, I don't want to be a burden. To leave their families, to leave their homes, to leave their careers, and basically to leave their educations behind. So that September, which was that largest month of that great escape from Estonia, not because people wanted to go, but because they had to. Because they all knew. They waited till the last minute and maybe didn't plan quite as detailed as they could have. But they waited till the last minute when the Russian front was coming to an area called the Blue Hills, and the soldiers the Russian soldiers, the German soldiers were holding it there. There were Estonians on both sides because they had been conscripted into both. So it was a painful time. But I could go into history forever, and I've looked at this forever. But anyway, what happened? We headed to Sweden. 750 boats of all sizes ended up on the shores of Gotland, Sweden, and in Germany, through Danzig, Germany. The Germans, who had also forbidden Estonians to escape or leave from the coast, you weren't even supposed to go to the coast. they started taking, when the firm came so fast, they took Estonians along. They needed labor in Germany. And of course, all of those people ended up in displaced persons camps. And the worst thing you could call any refugee of that time was a DP. We weren't much more popular in Sweden either, even though they did receive us nicely. Anyway, that's the story. Now, as time goes by, things become fuzzy, but there are still people from this generation who have done amazing things in the countries into which they went. They couldn't stay in Europe because it just wasn't a place to start a life. So it took 5 or 6 years of hoping that Estonia would become free, hoping that the Allies, the Americans and the British, would come with the great white ship, kind of the symbol of freedom, and free Estonia, but they didn't. So that's why we are all over everywhere. I'm part of the Estonian American National Council. There is an Estonian World Council. There are 11 countries which have amazing amounts. 80,000 people escaped. And the diaspora, as we have it today, and we call ourselves a diaspora, from Australia to Brazil to Canada to anywhere. There's an Estonian, as Hemingway said, there's an Estonian in every port. So we are very proud of this generation. I mean, I kind of think about it and I say, it took a lot of guts. I asked my mother, when she was older, and my aunt, we were just talking, I said, how did you manage to do it? And, they didn't think about it very long. They said, what other choice did we have? We had to do it. So I know you and your parents also had to do it. So the movement, I won't go on too long, the thought now is, in order to honor this generation, there have been no monuments, statues, sculptures placed anywhere in Estonia. There are some. There has been a movement for the last 10 years to get all of this back into history. Because we're a generation that was a little bit forgotten by history because of Soviet propaganda. We were traitors, we ran away, and it was fed into the psyche. I mean, locally people knew. If they had a family member who had to go, they knew. But the official line was, we ran away. And that was very, very shameful for all of us. We didn't run away. They waited for 5 years in Sweden and all over to come back, but that didn't come. So everybody did the best they could. They went off and did other things to help Estonia become free again as part of the diaspora and all that. So that's the story, and I just want to say to this lovely lady who probably remembers, I do not remember, I was 1.5, but you were a little bit older and you have memories. And you are all lucky to have her to tell you these memories, because this country is wonderful. As I say, we are going to have a year of commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the Great Escape, or the Mass Escape, Suurpõgemine. So we are putting up a statue. If you want to donate, you're welcome. I'm going to push it. But it's going to be gorgeous. If I may describe it, it is a hand of a man, like that, sort of reaching. From the other side, there's a hand. If you can imagine yourself saying goodbye to someone, your fingertips at that point, where the fingertips are just parting. Very symbolic, and that's why we're still Estonians. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm close to the final act, but it's hard to follow what has preceded me. My name is Jan Treyman. I'm the Honorary Consul for Estonia in Los Angeles. And I'm here probably because I'm the senior member of the Consular Corps staff. I was appointed in 1986. When I left Estonia, I was 3 months old, so my recollections of that are dim. I'm really here to welcome Tommy to our pretty exclusive club of Estonian honorary consuls in America. In a way, it's a belated welcome because thanks to the U.S. State Department waiting for confirmation of Tommy's appointment, Tommy was already active in our group, and I think all of us feel like he's an old-time member. But he's also impressed all of us with his wit and with his imagination, innovation, and his ability to get things done. I've got a couple of items here, and I'm going to be giving them to Tommy, not really as a gift to Tommy. I'm giving these items, which I'll explain in a minute, I'm giving them to you as a custodian on behalf of the Estonian Honorary Consular Corps. And the story behind these items is comes back to the spirit of America. It was the spirit of America which refused to recognize the legality of the Soviet occupation and the Soviet annexation of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Because the United States refused to recognize the legality, many other countries also refused. The reason I think that America refused recognition, one was a matter of international law. There's a doctrine that just says illegal conquest will not be recognized, that predates Soviet annexation of the Baltic states. It goes back to the Russo-Japanese War. But the United States government, regardless of what party was in power, continued to follow that policy. And I think one of the reasons it continued to follow that policy was because there was a grassroots desire on the part of the American people that the injustice that had taken place not be recognized. It was your predecessors as local government officials, as American citizens, that really gave the support to the American government to continue that policy. Now, some of the countries in the world kind of equivocated. They didn't recognize, well, Sweden just threw in the towel and turned over the Estonian embassy and actually sent back a group of Estonian and Latvians to the Baltic. There were other countries like England who equivocated. There was an Estonian embassy in London. The British government permitted that embassy to continue to function, but when the ambassador died, was no longer able to conduct his affairs, Britain didn't permit another person to replace him as ambassador. What they did do was, there was a caretaker for the embassy building, Anataru, who looked after the place, performed some consular duties, and kept the place open, although not functioning as a typical embassy would, which is a really roundabout way of bringing me to these two items that Tommy will be the custodian for. Toward the end of the singing revolution, around 1989, the Estonian government, which was really functioning through a man named Ernst Jaakson, who was in America when the Soviets occupied Estonia, but the State Department accorded him in effect, the title of ambassador, Consul General in charge of legation. He had the function, he had some Estonian funds which permitted him to continue to operate. That was money that Estonia had in the United States. And that money was running out. And the maintenance of the embassy in London was getting very expensive. We finally, Ernst Jaakson decided that the embassy needed to be sold. He took a lot of criticism for it, but there was really no other choice. So when the embassy was sold, he and Aran Rose, who was the consul at the legation in New York, went to London to basically clean up, take material from the embassy. And when they came back, they decided that I should have this, which you can't use as you're an honorary consul, Tommy, so you can't post it on your door. But I think you can kind of maintain it as a historical item. And to go with this, my parents were in Estonia in 1975, I think. And, 1975. And they had this book, Estonia, History of Estonia, that they had on the title sign. So I think this kind of, excuse me, I think this goes with the shield. And what I'm asking Tommy to do on behalf of the honorary consuls is to be custodian, and when the right time comes, pass it along.
It's really amazing.
Those are absolutely incredible, and I am humbled. I take good care of them and preserve them, and at the right time I will pass them on. So, thank you. Ambassador Clear Consul Scott, a moment ago, Mary and I would like to have you this, and again, thank you. Okay, I readily admit that excuse me? Oh.
So, if I may, here's something to you, Tommy. And I have to just say a few words about this thing here.
Woo!
It's a drink called Vanatallinn, which means Old Tallinn. I won't go into the story of the real Old Tallinn, the old part of the Estonian capital that dates back to the 14th century, where you can find the oldest in the world still functioning drugstore, where there's the place for the world's first public Christmas tree that was made public or put there in 1941 and so on and so forth. But the history of this drink is actually an interesting history of Cold War history. So when Castro took over Cuba and the traditional trade routes were, for obvious reasons, severed, then Soviets told Castro, "Oh, don't you worry, bring all your stuff to us, we will all buy it from you, including rum." There was no history of using rum in this part of the world. And then the Soviets went to different liquor factories and asked the people there to be creative. Estonians were creative and created the liquor, that is rum mixed with different herbs. That became probably the most famous drink in the territory of the Soviet Union, and the best hard currency that we could have. So, whereas nothing worked in the Soviet Union, and money could rarely buy anything of sense. This thing still worked, and you could. And then very quickly. There's a famous shawl of Haapsalu. Haapsalu is the town on the western coast of Estonia. And why it's famous? Because there is a special technique there, and it's considered a proper Haapsalu shawl only if you can pull it through your wedding ring. Then it's fine enough. Then it's the proper Haapsalu shawl.
Okay, it's been a fabulous day. I readily admit I am not the most interesting man in the world, but I will challenge you to find anyone on this earth who has more interesting friends than I do, and I consider everyone in this room among that group. There's food to enjoy, time to socialize. I saw some incredibly looking cookies over there that have the Estonian colors on them. What I'd like to encourage you to do is to go meet someone that you don't know and strike up a conversation. I guarantee that you will enjoy it. And as a challenge, try to find the person in this room who vacationed in North Korea. Because there is somebody in this room that did that. Again, thank you all for sharing this day with us, and I appreciate all of you. Go eat, enjoy.